Hello everyone, I'm here to talk about catalogs, the new big upcoming features for MariaDB 12.0. So the reason we have started to do this is that to provide something for SaaS providers that they haven't been able to do as easily before. Normally when you are running MariaDB in a SaaS environment, you run either at a separate VM, but it has a large overhead, so you can have roughly about 100 tenants per server if you want to have any kind of response for those. And the other version for customers who are paying smaller amounts, you usually have a shared instance where you get one database and one account that you can use. This is a model that cPanel and other programs are using. It has very limited overhead, but it has a poor experience for end users because there are artificial limits that makes life hard for database developers. That if you want to run your application in the cloud as you've done on premises, you can't, because you can't create multiple databases, you can't have more users, you can't have a secure environment where some users have access to some tables and others not. And then you have the noisy neighbor problem, which means that if you have one tenant who is taking a lot of resources, you can't easily find him because MariaDB and MySQL doesn't have good statistics per database user. We have basic statistics for one connection and for the whole server, but not for people accessing to one database. So having the two normal approaches on top compared to catalogs. So instead of having one container or for a database or a VM or a shared one, from the user's point of view, you have one machine with one MariaDB server, and each catalogs seems and feels like a normal MariaDB server, and you can have practically any number of catalogs on one server. So catalogs provides the best of both worlds from for the SaaS. What you get from SaaS providers. You get a shared instance, you get full access to a server where you can create your own databases, your own users, and you don't have any user limitation except what the SaaS providers gives to you, and still requiring or using very limited resources compared to a VM. You still have the problem with the noisy neighbor because you are sharing an instance, but with catalogs you can see full statistics like you do with a normal MariaDB server with show statistics for just one catalog, and you can easily pinpoint and find the noisy neighbors and move them out to another machine with more resources, or even maybe to a own instance. And you can also be able to enforce quotas for catalogs so that SaaS providers can have their own configuration file with limits per user. So it's more control for the SaaS providers. And having more users on the same machine with less resources, that means that in the best cases you can have up to 100x more users on the same machine. And that way provide more optimized and economical solutions for users. So this feature is still in development, and we have been searching for sponsors and also people or SaaS provider who wants to use this earlier. So we are going to backport the catalog features that will be in the main server in 12 to earlier releases for SaaS providers. So they can start using these features in a stable release much earlier. So then the question is, how does it affect end users? So when using catalogs you only have to provide the catalog somehow when you start or connecting to MariaDB. And there are 3 ways or 4 ways you can do that. You can have a catalog option where you specify the catalog for the clients who support that. All MariaDB clients will support that. You can also use a configure catalog to respond to a unique IP or a unique port, so that you then connect to that as you would connect to normal server, but you go into your own catalog. And for old connectors or user or applications, you can also specify database as a catalog.database, and that should work for any old application or user. And you can think about its catalog as a container. You can only see those things that are related to you. And so it should be fully safe. And you can also ask a SaaS provider to provide something that you can't do in normal environments. You can have your on-premise database be replicate your catalog replicate it to another server, to another catalog, or even from a catalog to on-premise. And this will allow SaaS providers to provide very cheap backups in the cloud. So there is one special user in a system with catalogs. There is a default catalog called def, and the super user in that one has access to commands that normal user will not have. Basically, that can disrupt things for other users, like shut down, shows server status, use catalog, drop catalog, and so on. So there are some limitations when using catalogs, but there are quite few. The name is a little bit short, but this is just to enable SaaS provider to have meaningful catalogs name. And then there are some tables who are not accessible directly by users. So current state is documented is already in documentation. We have a task, and there are some 20 tasks, and we have started to give developers within MariaDB corporations working on in this current sprint for Tel 0. We have had a little bit of pause of catalogs while we have been working on 11.4 and 11.8, and Vector also have taken some of our attention. But with Tel 0, catalogs is one of the main features, so we are doing our best to get that in. The code is already usable for a lot of things. There are still some tasks who are not done, but for already running for testing or use, or even for small production, the code is quite usable. So when you start using catalogs, you run the normal MariaDB install DB, and then you have new option, catalogs, and then you tell which catalogs you want to initially create. And after that, MariaDB will know that this instance is optimized for catalogs, and you can then connect to any of these catalogs, and you can create new catalogs or drop new old ones at any point in time. So unique catalogs command are these. So this provide to do the maintenance that you have catalogs. You can also do a select catalog to see which catalog you are using. And then you have one of the big things with catalogs is that you have no or show server status. Normally you only have global and session status. So server status shows you the everything that's in the catalogs happening in all catalogs, and only the catalog super user from the dev catalogs can look at those. So we have a lot of things already implemented. We have the new connector C is already have new code to access catalogs. We have one developer working on adding the minus catalog options to all MariaDB clients. And we have status variables per catalog privileges, and most of the different parts of the servers is already enhanced for catalogs. All the major storage engine, there's still one patch missing in MyRocks supports catalogs. And then we have some tasks who are still needs to be implemented before the final version. And here you have the task. There are not that many, and we should be able to implement those within the next 3 months. And if somebody wants to work on any of those features, you can go to the MDevs listed here and assign something for yourself and start working on. Most of the tasks left are quite small, should be done in few days to maximum 2 weeks. So how does things look internally? So normally you have a structure where you have a data there on top, and then you have the different engine log files for undo and redo. You have the replication files for master and slave, and then you have log files, and then you have one directory for each schema or database. With catalogs, it looks quite the same. The top there you also have the engine and replication files, and then you have one directory per catalog, and under those then you have the log files for the catalog and all the schemas or databases for that catalog. So that's kind of is the external difference. We have tried to document all the normal use cases for getting you quickly up with catalogs. And now we will see Vicencio do a demo of catalogs.
All right. So now that you've seen a high-level view of what catalogs is, and likely a little bit more information that you probably wanted in some cases, but nonetheless, catalogs is a very interesting feature with lots of possibilities. And what I want to show you now is a short demo of what we can actually do with catalogs. So let me make it a little bit bigger so you can see what we're doing. So what I have here are 3 terminals. In the first terminal, I will start MariaDB Server with catalog support. I am now in the source code directory of MariaDB, and I have compiled the server, which means that we have everything we need here, all the binaries and tools we want to use. We don't yet have an official release of MariaDB Catalogs, but this will be coming in very soon. So now, let's start the server. Actually, no, let's not start the server first. Let's first install the database, because that's the first thing we do. We need to run the MariaDB install DB script. So we will run MariaDB install DB. And what I will do is, I have the data directory pointing to somewhere where I want to load my files. And because we want to do a multi-catalog deployment, we have an extra flag available in install DB, which says add catalogs, and then specify which catalogs we actually want. So we want 3 catalogs with tenant 1, tenant 2, and tenant 3. That's their names. We're going to run this script, and now it's going to deploy the data directory with catalog support. This will take a little bit of time, but not too long. So this allows you to easily provision servers with catalog support. And once this is done, we will be looking at the folder structure to see how it is different to what we are typically familiar with. All right, the catalogs were now deployed. Let's go into Maria Catalogs data directory and have a look inside. So let's do a short list to see what's going on. There are some familiar files like the ARIA control files, the InnoDB buffer pool, the IBData1, and the log file that we know from InnoDB that is something that is part of the data directory. But we're seeing other folders that we're typically not used to. We see def, we see 10.1, 2, and 3, the catalog names we just created here. So what's going on? Well, as you've probably seen, we have a separate folder for each catalog. If we go inside tenant 1, we will see we have MySQL performance schema, sys, and test as databases within the catalog. There's also a catalog opt option. There's this catalog opt option, and the catalog opt file has a few settings that are valid for each database/table created within the catalog. This allows you to have different configurations for different tenants, perfect for a cloud hosting environment. Now we will go back to our server and start it. One thing to note, I forgot to mention that we do have a def catalog. So def is the special catalog, the one that holds all the metadata about catalogs, and also has a few things that cannot be put within catalog specifically, like which plugins are we going to load? Because plugins have access to every part of the server memory, they are sensitive, they are only installable by the root catalog user. Not even the root user from one catalog, but the root user for all the catalogs, the one in def. So now we go to MariaDB Catalogs, and let's start our server. We start our server with the data directory pointing to where we have installed catalogs, and we have an extra flag called -- catalogs. And this is the critical one. When we start server with catalog support, it knows that we are actually looking at a different tree folder structure for the data directory. So I'm going to start the server. And now let's connect to different catalogs and see how things work. So I have a client here. I'm going to connect to tenant with the first client to tenant 1 catalog. And here I'm going to do the same, but I'm going to use the tenant 2 catalog. So already, once we've connected, notice that we are in tenant 1 here, we are in tenant 2 here catalog. The prompt is a little bit different. If I do show databases here, I see the databases here. If I do show databases here, I will also see the databases here. I can create a database in tenant 1, create database ten1 DB, and I can create a database ten2 DB here. What do I do what do I get if I do show databases now? I get ten1 DB. What do I get if I do show databases here though? I do not see ten1 DB, I see ten2 DB. Notice we already have separation between catalogs on the database level. So this is as if you were to split your data in multiple databases and give your tenants access to one database at a time. Here, we give tenants access to one catalog at a time. And what makes that so special? Well, because we can give each tenant all the privileges that they would get on a full-fledged server. So what the tenant can do now is they can create users in their catalog. So I can do create user here. I can call it foo. I can grant foo access to all the things on ten2 DB. I can grant all on to foo. Okay, and this is, so if I just show grants for foo, notice I have the user foo with all the privileges for ten2 DB. If I ask here what are the grants for foo, there's no such user. Tenant 1 catalog doesn't know what foo is because it's in the MySQL database of catalog 2. And now, if we go to create a user foo here, and if I'm to grant foo all on ten1 DB *2 foo, and I do a show grants for foo, again, we see the separation between ten1 and ten2. So this is where the magic of catalogs lies. You can separate your tenants as if they had dedicated VMs, dedicated database containers, but you only pay the cost of one database server. That means that you can easily upgrade a single server and all your tenants are upgraded. You can then upgrade catalogs selectively. And also you have various replication forms between catalog 1 to another catalog to another server without catalog support and so on. So I hope this demo shows you a very slight teaser on what catalogs can do. For hosting providers, this is a very good tool which will require just a little bit of changing of the automation already in place. Thank you.